Stage 2, begin takeoff sequence. You're cleared for launch.
Hello viewers, well, continuing our coverage of E3, of course we like to show VR on this channel as well, very exciting stuff. And of course here we see Ace Combat VR, Ace Combat 7 in VR. You can see taking off from the warship, amazing visuals when you see your craft and taking off. You look around, you can see a whole fleet of ships as other jets take off, and then you fly up following your wingman up into the clouds. You see it gets pretty bright up here, and you just see this sort of amazing level of detail. You'll see moisture on the cockpit and the glass, and the good thing is how you can move your head to look around and follow your enemies. Use that important HUD arrow, points you where to go. And you know, cockpit games convert themselves so well to VR, but this is another one of those games on the PlayStation VR that really shows the untapped potential of VR, but also the untapped potential of PlayStation VR as well. You know, we've not really had many big games that use it. We've only had Resident Evil this year, and of course we've had the Star Wars demo last year. Hopefully we'll see more Star Wars VR to be announced and revealed for the new Battlefront 2. It was certainly well received last year, and I have to say, spectacular being in the X-Wing fighter. I can't wait to see more missions and where this goes. So you take off from your ship, you fly around for a moment, and then you get engaged in combat, flying against enemy aircraft. You start off with reasonably good weather, and then the weather will deteriorate, and then you start realizing the big impact clouds have on your fighter craft. So there's a big storm cloud, and when you fly into it, your HUD system doesn't work, it can't track onto enemies, but if you're in there too long, your craft will freeze up and then you'll probably stall. So it's a good way to fly into a cloud and then lose someone who's chasing you, but at the same time, you know, there's different tactics to how you use the clouds. And it's going to be interesting to see how that's employed in the final game. Do you see how you're looking around, looking for your enemies now? You're not just stable looking forward like you would be on the screen. You're actually turning your head, looking for the enemies ahead and just trying to keep them in view. Often they would just go out of your view, and all you'd end up looking at a lot of the time in Ace Combat is the arrow pointing to which way the enemy is. To an extent, there's still that there. Now, some people will comment on motion sickness. What's motion sickness like? It's different for everybody. For me, it depends on how you move your head. If you're moving your head around an awful lot and it's going in a different way to the craft or a different way to the way you're spinning, sometimes it can make you feel a bit rough. But generally speaking, I did this okay, and most of the people who went on this did it okay. If you're ever feeling a little bit of sort of motion sickness, just take a look at the HUD display. But dare I say, you know, if you were in the real aircraft, you would definitely be feeling motion sickness, I can assure you. The speed, the G-force, the feeling of being, you know. So I think in terms of replication, if they're not replicating at least some of the energy going on, then obviously they wouldn't be doing a good job. But it's always important to get the keying things right, where your brain seems to understand what's going on, and you know, that way you don't get sort of uncomfortable motion sickness. I asked somebody about that, what's actually happening, and he says, well, your brain, if it's seeing something and it's not feeling it, your brain thinks that you've eaten something bad, and that's its first thought, that you're poisoned in some way. So that's why it makes you feel rough, because it thinks, well, we've got to get that poison out of you and clear your system. As Tim here luckily has a lucky moment with the water. I'm sure he won't in the final game, but he got very lucky with that. Whenever I went near the ground, I crashed, but only once did I go near the ground. But it really gave me a feeling of classic Ace Combat. You know, I was a big fan of the first one on the PS1 many years ago, and the second game completed that as well. It had really cool music and atmosphere. But I didn't like the last couple of versions, when I forget what it's called now, but you had this kind of close-up cam behind the plane where you'd go for these sort of strafing runs. I didn't like it. I thought, what's this arcade stuff? It just didn't work very well. And now they've gone back to a kind of a semi-simulation. You know, I know we talk about simcade and racing, but I guess that's kind of what you have here. You know, it's all the action, all the fun, without the depth needed to actually fly the real plane, and that's what you need here. So in that sense, they brought it together pretty well. I never noticed the HUD, how the HUD is attached to your actual view there. That's quite nice to see. In its own way, it'll be authentic. So now he's looking for his enemies. You see on the radar, they're all coming at him now, so he's going to have to start avoiding those. So the whole idea of this is it's a limited demo, but you'll be seeing a direct feed video coming up of the standard screen version of the game in the next few days. Just having a look at that, because it is spectacular. It does look great, and it's something that we're going to cover in more depth. And every now and again there's going to be the odd sort of non-racing video, just to cover the sort of things that interest a lot of racing fans like myself. And I think, as I say, cockpit experiences just translate perfectly to VR. So this is highly recommended from what I've played so far, but I just wanted to share some footage of this with you. And there's no sound to this, but I'll leave it with you for now, and as ever there'll be more from me very soon.